Truth Carry Stories. My dad's golden retriever exposed a $2 million corporate fraud after his death. I never believed in the signs from beyond, until my dad's golden retriever Murphy literally dug up evidence that would destroy the man who killed him. Let me back up. 6 months ago, my father David Morrison died in what Phoenix police called a tragic accident at his construction company's warehouse. The official report said he fell from scaffolding while working late. Case closed. Except Murphy, who'd been with Dad for 8 years, went from being this happy, tail-wagging goofball to basically catatonic overnight. He wouldn't eat, wouldn't play, just stared at the door, waiting for someone who was never coming home. I'm Jake Morrison, 32, and I run a small veterinary clinic in Scottsdale. After Dad died, I took Murphy in because, well, someone had to. My mom Linda was barely functioning herself. My younger brother Tyler was angry at the world, and my sister, Emma, just threw herself into work to avoid dealing with it. We were all grieving in our own messed up ways, but Murphy was different. See, golden retrievers don't just get depressed. They're literally bred to be happy. When a golden stops eating and won't even look at a tennis ball, something's seriously wrong. I ran every test imaginable. Blood work, x-rays, thyroid panels. Everything came back normal. Physically, Murphy was fine. Mentally, the dog was broken. He's grieving, I told my mom when she visited the clinic one day, watching Murphy lie motionless in the corner. "Your father loved that dog more than anything," she said, her voice cracking. "Remember how they'd go on those 5 a.m. runs before David opened the warehouse? Every single day, rain or shine." The warehouse. Morrison Construction had been Dad's pride and joy for 20 years. He'd built it from nothing into a company worth several $1 million, employing over 50 people. After he died, his business partner, Rick Hoffman, had been kind enough to handle everything. He'd bought out our shares for what he called a fair price, $500,000 split between the family. Mom was too grief-stricken to question it, and the rest of us just wanted to move on. 3 weeks before the 6-month anniversary of Dad's death, something changed in Murphy. We were driving past the cemetery where Dad was buried. I usually avoided that route, but construction had me detouring when Murphy suddenly perked up. His head shot up, nose pressed against the window, and for the first time in months, he whined. "You want to see him, buddy?" I asked, making a spontaneous decision to turn into Pinnacle Peak Cemetery. The moment I opened the car door, Murphy bolted. I've never seen him move that fast, not even when he was young. He ran straight to Dad's grave like he'd been there 100 times, though this was his first visit. Then he started digging. Not just pawing at the ground, I mean digging, like his life depended on it, like there was something buried that needed to come out right now. "Murphy, stop! I grabbed his collar, but he twisted away and kept going. His paws were bleeding, but he didn't care. Other visitors were staring. A groundskeeper started walking over. That's when I noticed something odd. Murphy wasn't digging at Dad's grave. He was digging about 3 feet to the left in a patch of fresher dirt I hadn't noticed before. "Sir, you need to control your dog," the groundskeeper said, but then he stopped. "Wait, this section shouldn't have fresh soil. Nothing's been authorized here." He made a call. 20 minutes later, cemetery management showed up. An hour after that, the police were there. They found something metal about 2 feet down, a lockbox, waterproof, and definitely not supposed to be there. Inside that box was USB drives, documents, and $50,000 in cash. But more importantly, there was a letter in my father's handwriting. If you're reading this, something happened to me, and it wasn't an accident. Rick Hoffman has been embezzling from Morrison Construction for 3 years. I confronted him last week with evidence. He said he'd handle it. If I die, check the security footage from March 15th. He had it erased, but I made copies. The real company value is $8 million, not the $2 million he'll claim. Don't let him steal from my family twice. David Morrison. My hand shook as I read it. The police detective, a woman named Sandra Martinez, who'd initially seemed annoyed about being called to a cemetery for a dog incident, was now very interested. We'll need to investigate this immediately. This could be evidence in a potential homicide. Tyler was ready to drive straight to Rick's house with a baseball bat. Emma, ever the lawyer, even though she practiced family law, started making calls. Mom just cried. But me? I looked at Murphy, who was now calmly sitting by Dad's grave, his paws leaving prints on the granite. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Turns out, when you have documented evidence of embezzlement and a suspicious death, the FBI gets real interested real quick. They raided Rick's home and Marston's contractions simultaneously. Rick had been sloppy. He'd deleted the warehouse security footage from March 15th, but not from March 14th, which showed him disabling cameras. He'd forged Dad's signature on dozens of documents. He transferred $2.3 million to offshore accounts, and the scaffolding Dad fell from? It had been tampered with. 2 marks on the bolts that failed. They arrested Rick at his country club during his Tuesday golf game. Several members recorded on their phones. There's something beautifully poetic about watching a murderer get dragged off the knife hole in handcuffs while his golf buddies stand there with their ridiculous plaid pants absolutely stunned. But here's where the revenge gets really sweet. Arizona has something called the Slayer Statute. If you kill someone, you can't profit from their death in any way. Not only did Rip lose his claim to the company, but every decision he'd made after Dad's death was now void, including the buyout of our shares. Emma, who'd been quiet through much of this, suddenly transformed into an absolute shark. She might practice family law, but she knew of corporations law to be dangerous. She filed emergency injunctions, froze assets, and basically made Rick's life a legal nightmare. We got everything. The full $8 million company, the money he's stolen, his shares in the business, even his country club membership, which we donated to a local youth program just to twist the knife a little deeper. The trial was almost anticlimactic. With that much evidence, Rick's lawyer, a public defender because we had frozen all his assets, tried to plead bargain. 25 to life for murder, plus another 20 for embezzlement and fraud. Rick would die in prison. The day of sentencing, our whole family sat in the courtroom. Murphy was there too. The judge had made an exception for the dog who solved the case. When they read the verdict, Murphy barked just once, like it was saying, "Good." Rick turned to look at us as they led him away. "It was just business," he said. "So is this," I replied. 6 months later, Morrison Construction is thriving under Emma's leadership. Turns out she'd inherited Dad's business sense along with his stubbornness. Tyler runs the warehouse with military precision. Mom started a foundation in Dad's name that helps families who've lost someone to workplace accidents. And Murphy's back to his old self. He plays fetch, destroys tennis balls, and steals food up counters. But every Sunday, we visit Dad's grave. Murphy lays down on that spot where he dug up the box, like he's protecting it. Or maybe he's just telling Dad that he did good, that the film is okay, that justice was served. The construction crew found one more thing when they were investigating the warehouse. Dad had installed a hidden camera in his office that uploaded to a cloud server Rick didn't know about. The last recording was on the night Dad died. It showed Rick suggesting they check something on a scaffolding, Dad trusting his partner of 15 years enough to follow him up there. It showed the push. It showed Rick watching Dad fall. It showed him wailing 10 minutes before calling 911. 10 minutes that might have saved Dad's life. That video played at trial. The jury deliberated for less than an hour. People ask me if I believe Murphy somehow knew about the buried evidence. The logical heart of me, the veterinarian trained in science, says dogs have incredible noses. Maybe he smelled something familiar. Dad sent on the box, perhaps. But the son in me,
The one who watched that dog grieve harder than any human? I think Dad found a way to tell Murphy where to dig. I think love transcends death, even between a man and his dog. Rick often thought he had the perfect murder. He thought he'd stolen our father, our inheritance, and our future. He didn't count on one thing. Never underestimate a loyal dog. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks again.